Welcome, everyone. This is our second edition of the champion interview. We did this back in season 10, and it was kind of a fun deal to kind of look back at the season. Well, this time I am joined with Jacob Jukobrich, the head coach of the Charlotte Charizards. I'm your host, Caleb Siegel Gully. Jacob went on a tear, and he did one of the coolest things ever. He finally got his first title. Jacob, just give me the overall impression of what that first title felt like.
Ooh, man. It is, first of all, it is a big relief. I feel like I got a little bit of a weight lifted off my chest. I feel like I don't have to prove anything anymore. Especially also knowing that I have, well, now 2 divisional titles
That's
to my
right.
name.
That's right.
Yeah, we got that too. So that's a small crowd that I am a part of now,
Yeah.
being both a champion and a division title holder. So that's a pretty elite club. I definitely want to get more.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stop now, but I'm happy.
Yeah,
So,
that's the hard part. Once you get one, it's like, oh man, I got to do it again, and then again
exactly.
and again and again.
I got to do
and,
it again.
As long as you're having fun with it, and it's not like overall like weighing on your shoulders too much or something like that. I think overall perfectly acceptable, because who doesn't like being at the top of the mountain? And
Exactly.
so glad to have you part of our Champions Club. It's a lot of fun, but most importantly, we talk about this. I think in all the champion teams that we've seen, it's been a really well rounded draft. Uh, Coming out of draft night, what do you think went right to build this championship caliber roster?
Really, I think I just had a solid game plan around a couple of really strong mons that I wanted to use, namely Chi-Yu and Palafin were the two that were like the core of the team. And then I kind of just lucked into a lot the stuff. Like the additional draft picks. Well, I mean, the additional draft picks for the following season, I definitely didn't. Yeah, I lucked into some of that stuff. That was just like icing on the cake for me. And I mean, there was also some like, there was 1 or 2 flubs, like the Scovillain that was on draft night, and that didn't last long.
It's okay.
But
It made the appearance in season 10 championship game, so like I totally see why you would take that. It was, I think, underexplored for most of the league, and you were willing to give it a shot. But you did have a really good core to work with, and unfortunately didn't make the squad by the end of it, but it still was really good for you, I think, when you did have it.
That's fair. It was a interesting mon to use in theory, but it's just it didn't work out for me personally. I think that's just all I can say for it, and I really hope it does find a good home somewhere out there.
Yeah,
it's a fun mon.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, talking about some fun mons that you had. I mean, that Chi-Yu, Palafin, and then you're neglecting one that we were, I think, was really huge was Spectrier. You in that thing with the Chi-Yu as a duo, you just throw that on the field. It's like checkmate. What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah, that was just that was a last minute decision on draft night actually, which
really?
was
I was kind of surprised by that.
Well, it was a hard toss up between that and Golden Go and what else was I considering on draft night? I was considering something else on draft night as well.
Yeah.
But then I just realized if I couldn't get Basket Legion to be a fast ghost type, then I realized my best bet was just to go with Spectrier and just have it pair with Chi-Yu.
I mean, you fleeced me with the Basket Legion trade. I took you off that game plan. So
I mean,
I don't know. I probably should let you had it in hindsight.
I was gonna say I think you might have fleeced yourself, and I was just the benefactor. So,
yeah, I mean, I liked it. It was a fun fish to use. So
yeah, I'm still interested in using it. If I didn't have Palafin, if I didn't franchise Palafin, I would probably be going after the Basket Legion.
Yeah. I mean, Palafin, I think you have mastered it by the end of the season, and that's why you brought it back this season. I think is kind of important. Note we'll talk about in a little bit. Something that, I think everybody who's had a championship, there's this defining moment in the season where it's like, hey, I think this team might be able to make a run. When did that realization kind of hit you in season 11?
It was a slow burn of a realization. Okay. I would say it was probably around like week 6 or 7 when my team I started to solidify my game plan. That was kind of when I just felt really good, and I realized who my hardest matchups were, like coach wise.
Yeah.
at least for the season, drafts and all.
Right.
So it was, like I said, it was really just a slow realization, and I was just trying to not get ahead of myself throughout the season. Because once I did realize that I had a really, really good team, it was like I said, I just didn't want to put the horse in front of the rider and say I'd already won in week 10 or something,
Yeah. I mean, it was you had a tough division, I think. Going back, I mean, you and I were division opponents. We had John, who is a team that's been showing up a lot in the championships recently, Chapel Hill, and so the three of us, I feel like we had something that was a lot of really tough matchups. I think it kind of prepared everybody to make a run at one point or another, and I think it's easy to be like, oh, I think I have a good chance here because you were doing really well in the division, but at the same time, it's like you don't want to put any more pressure on yourself than you might have already had. And I think that's a tough balancing act to have, which I think you obviously navigated really well because you won the whole thing.
Yeah, it helps if you don't put too much thought into it, which is hard to do, but I somehow did it. So yeah.
Hey, there you go. So, talking about, that defining moment like week 6, 7, where it's that slow burn. Well, that slow burn has to accumulate throughout the season. So I would say, what were possibly some of your biggest obstacles and maybe coming to that realization or just in general?
I don't remember for sure, but I think it was in like week 5 or 6 that I played John again, where I lost to him that time, where I knew if I had to face him, really if I faced either you or John in the playoffs, I knew it was going to be tough no matter what. But I think John was my hardest matchup for the season. Whether it was like the way our drafts interacted or whether it was just John knows what my team wanted to do, what I wanted to do. Whatever it was, he just had like, I had the edge, but he was always just right there and he always made it intense. Like you could see in every series, it was always like, what, 2 or 3 differential at the most.
It was super close.
Yeah, exactly. So he was always the toughest for me this season.
Well, hey man, that answers my next question on like who was your toughest matchup. So Chapel Hill, I mean, what made that so tough? I mean, is there a specific detail? What was it?
I can't really pin it down for sure. Especially because he made different mons the issue throughout the season because like I wasn't ready for Chestnut in our first week.
Who would have been? No.
Exactly. And then he ended up dropping the Chestnut, I believe, and then I had to worry about what was it, Blood Moon Ursaluna?
Yes.
And like
that thing was 10-0 at one point in the season.
Exactly. Like it's scary. And John is a good coach. Like it's all scary. So it's he was doing well against me, and that's like what can I do?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we all split more or less in our division. So I mean, when everybody goes 1-1, it's really tough to be like, okay, if we have to play a third time, what happens?
Exactly. It was all a coin flip.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that little postseason run for a brief moment here. You did get the bye with kind of what happened in the season 11. Was that a big part of what helped make that championship run, not having to worry about round 1 because you won the division?
In the moment, really, it almost felt like a curse. Like it was definitely a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Because I started to get in my own head that, no matter who I faced, like I said earlier, whether it was you or whether it was John, no matter who it was going to be, I was worried that I was going to be iced out and not ready to play another match. And, I tried to keep myself as refreshed as I could playing some ladder and stuff like that. But there's always that nagging feeling in the back of your mind that it's, you could just fumble here and it could just be another season where nothing happens. But
that was not the case.
Through.
We absolutely pulled through. And then you overcame what you said was your toughest matchup. You played John in the semifinal, and that was a very tight best of 3. I mean, damage rolls, y'all both hit the calculator significantly.
Yeah.
I was nervous for both of y'all when I was watching that. I was like, man, I'm glad I'm not playing. It was basically, I mean, obviously, you win, you're in the championship kind of thing. and
Mhm.
that's always fun. But it definitely seemed like it was a very stressful match, just from an outside perspective.
Oh, it was. It was. Ugh. I don't want to relive the. Well, I do want to relive the experience because
Yeah.
even if I lost, I think it was probably one of the most fun matches that I have played, just because of how close it was.
Well, in that match, we had a Pokemon named Mudsdale, which was a tier
Mhm.
3. It won a lot of tier 3 awards and stuff like that. It actually had some very clutch lives in that series.
Yeah.
Was Mudsdale secretly the just missing ingredient for the team? Because you had obviously the Chi-Yu, Spectre, Palafin at the top that a lot of
Mhm.
people would be worried about. But was Mudsdale what ultimately you feel like put it over the top?
Yes, I think you actually nailed it.
Oh, I didn't mean to take
Um,
the answer with the
no,
question.
you're it's good. It's good. I will say I right off the bat when I picked it up, dropping the Scovillain for it, I was a little hesitant. Um, I knew that obviously it was just a bulky monster. I mean, it's it's just a big old horse with the ability, stamina, and
Yeah,
inner
stamina's good.
focus, and like yeah, it just gets tanky. What I did not account for, and what I was very surprised by, is the fact that a tier 3 bulk monster also had an attack stat of 125 at its
Yeah.
base. Um,
So for some reason that's good. I'm not sure why, but
yeah,
it is.
it like I said, it caught me by surprise, and it just happened to pick up a few KOs because of
Just
it.
a few, just a few.
It's crazy.
Not
So
like it
it's
led tier 3 in KOs, I'm pretty sure.
oh yeah, I think it did.
Yeah.
Especially with playoffs included. I definitely spam that thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, I will proudly say it was my glue piece for the team, and I don't think I could have won without it.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, talking about winning, we talked about the semifinal matchup, but walk me through kind of what your thought process was against the Toronto Trick Roomers in the final there. Uh, we got to see it via the cast, which was a lot of fun to go check out.
mhm.
I mean, John and Parker did a good job with the cast there, but I
Yep.
mean, we saw the Toronto perspective from that, but I don't know what your perspective was going into that. So
It was another case of I just had to measure my confidence.
yeah,
I felt like once I got past the division, I had it in the bag. I felt like I could beat everyone on the other side of the division,
that's a
no
good
matter
feeling.
what. Yeah.
It's a good feeling.
Like I said, I was very confident about it. I just didn't want to get ahead of myself, and you know, I just had to keep the train going, keep it steady, and there it was.
Yeah,
So,
and you definitely did. I mean, it got off to a very close game 1 win, and then that it turned into a close game 2, and then game 3. I think you kind of were able to separate a little bit and pull away, and ultimately secure that series in
mhm.
a 3-0. We don't get many 3-0s in the final. It was, I think the scoreboard wasn't completely representative of how close that series was, but I think you made some really good plays to enable yourself to ultimately get your season 11 championship.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
yeah, no problem.
I will
I'll give you
say
some praise on that. That was impressive. So,
I appreciate it. I think my best moment from that whole series, though, was just realizing that as I didn't hold on to my pride and say that Mudsdale was
yeah.
my end all be all. I
And
didn't bring it in game 3, and I think that was actually the defining factor
yeah,
for winning game 3. So
making the Murkrow switch to it was pretty big
exactly, yeah.
because it seemed like Mudsdale was game planned for accordingly because there was a lot of
Hmm.
will-o-wisps and burns and things like that, and did get hit with the burns,
Yep.
and it did sit on the field. It just wasn't able to do as much damage. But switching to that Murkrow for speed control to give your really fast sweepers just that extra edge, I think, was a great adjustment to close up that series.
Yeah. I think
So,
I
oh
don't
yeah,
want to toot my own horn, but
go.
I think
Hey,
it was a
this is the
really hard
champion interview.
adjustment too. Yeah, I mean,
Go for it.
true it is, but like, I just don't think a lot of people would have made that adjustment.
Yeah.
Especially because being up 2-0 at the time, like. Anyway, whatever.
No, you get.
Let's move
You're
on.
good.
Let's move on.
That's fair. That's fair. So we've talked a little bit in general about the overall season. Went to the weeds a little bit with the postseason run. I guess this is gonna be like my last season related question here. Is like, what was your biggest takeaway? Lots of them to choose from.
I'll keep it short and sweet.
Okay.
Um, Beads of Ruin and Sword of Ruin, go Burr.
Yeah, I think you showing the league that those abilities are busted, uh, more so than we all thought, was the biggest takeaway for me. I
Yeah.
ended up drafting Ting Lu in season 12 because of that. We're
Mhm.
going to see how well it works. So basically, you set a new like strategy for the league. I think that was a good takeaway for all of us. I think to pick up. Uh, so one little thought here: was Terra as good as you thought it would be? Now that we've done 2 seasons of it.
Well, okay. So I want to put it in like the grand scheme,
Go for
um,
it.
which is kind of hard to do, I guess, because I only have experience with Dynamax and Terra, and that's it in terms of competitive Pokemon.
That's about
Um,
what I got too with VGC. So I didn't play
that's
during the
fair.
Mega Evolution time.
I did not either, nor Z moves.
Yeah.
So,
Gen 8 and Gen 9
um,
basically it for me.
yeah,
So
exactly. But personally, I love Terra. I thought Dynamax was fun, but it warps the game in such a huge way. And Terra to me feels like it's just a natural extension of regular
yeah, as regular
VGC.
as
You
you
know
can
what I
make it,
mean?
right? Yeah.
Exactly. It feels like almost like, once again, this isn't a time that I played, but it seems to me like it's like season 5 extra. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So, or
Makes sense.
Gen 5, excuse me,
Yeah.
not season 5.
Yeah. I mean, we got that
Um,
too. I mean, I don't think it's documented on the channel anywhere, but
fair.
we've played a few.
We
But
have,
I
yeah,
do
we've
think I
played quite a few.
agree with that statement, just
Mhm.
because it feels a little more natural and not
Mhm.
getting like immediate stat boost and stuff like that from Dynamax moves. I think, I mean, I like Dynamax, don't get me wrong, but I think Terra is just a little bit more balanced in the sense that, hey, you do have all these typings, and the way we do it where, everybody knows what the typings are ahead of time when we go into
Yeah.
like the team reads kind of helps. And
Mhm.
like, okay, I know there's going to be Terra Water, Iron Hands, or something like that. So you can kind of play around that.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I think it's kind of fun. I think we've done well with it as a league, and that's
Yeah,
why it's been, I think, fun to use up to this point.
I agree.
So, uh, I got like 2 more questions for you here. Um,
Fire away.
Season 12
Bang, bang.
technically has
Mhm.
started. how
It has.
how
It
do you,
has.
yeah, how are you feeling? Is confidence high and a chance for a repeat? Where are you at on the scale?
I'll be completely honest with you. At this moment right now, I don't have a lot of confidence, and I don't really care all that much at this exact moment. I am in a point where I'm happy that I've won my championship and I have a couple, titles and things to my name now. And so I'm okay with taking a little bit of a break in this early season, especially because I feel like for the past 3 seasons I've tried really hard.
Yeah.
And even if I haven't made it necessarily far, I feel like I've improved at least every season.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I got a whole spreadsheet that'll say, yes, you have improved. I can walk you through line by line. We're not going to do it for this, but
I will have to check it out because I am
Yeah.
interested in seeing that.
Yeah. I've been tracking you for a while now.
Oh Lord, that's
I'm only
a
a
little
stat.
scary, honestly.
I'm a stat nerd. In case
You
those
are
at
a
home don't know.
statistician or whatever the word is. I
Yeah,
hope I didn't mess that up on the internet because that would be
Nah.
bad, but it's fine.
You're good. You're good.
But I mean, once we get closer to playoffs time and closer to the end of the season, I think I'm going to try and somewhat emulate what I did last season, where I'm going to try and really start to solidify a plan again.
Yeah.
And whether that has to come through making more free agency moves or, I just figure it out with what I have and I really enjoy it. I'm just willing to give it time right now. I'm not rushing. I'm not pushing to be like get a perfect season or anything.
That's not healthy, by the way. Don't
exactly.
try
It's
to do that.
unnecessary stress. I'm load management right now. I'm chilling out. Whatever happens. And if I don't win the season,
hey, you got
it's
season
okay.
11. You still got
Exactly,
bragging rights
it's
on
okay.
season 11. So
It's
you've
okay,
proven to
and
yourself that you can do it.
Exactly. And also, I'll take it as a learning experience. Maybe I do have to try harder throughout the whole season to actually get a championship.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I have to do. So
Well, the benefit is everybody makes playoffs with our format. I mean, granted,
Exactly.
seeding does usually matter to some extent, but
Mhm.
knowing that, hey, I do have a postseason slot, at least lets you experiment, figure out what's going to work, and then, hey, you do have a good solid strategy for the postseason, and now you can
Yeah.
make your run. And we've seen that happen with lots of teams throughout the history
Yeah.
of our draft league up to this point. So,
I mean, Chapel Hill is famous for their playoffs, Buff.
yep, yep. I mean, we had a Memphis in season 9 come as a 7
Exactly.
seed, got hot, and then ran
Yep.
through the postseason. So there was
That was a
definitely,
scary time.
yeah, definitely can happen to anybody.
It can.
So last question here, we'll end it on this. You got any bold predictions for season 12?
Yeah, and I'm actually really glad that you brought up Memphis.
All right.
They are my dark horse. I think they have an absolute banger of a draft. I think if they, I don't know what they could do to improve, but I think there could be a couple improvements that could be made. And if they do end up making them, I think it's like a top 2 draft for
Oh,
sure.
absolutely. They have. I mean, they got
Um,
Urshifu Rapid Strike, which is the signature for them at this point, and so
yep.
they're great at piloting it, and that alone
Yeah.
can carry you. I mean, it did in season 9 for them. They carried them through the postseason.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Urshifu is just kind of a busted Pokemon, man. It's kind of really stupid, but hey, it's okay. It's fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I think not just in saying that they are my dark horse, I think that they are going to win. If you want me to make a bold prediction, I think they're going to win.
Okay, yeah, I like it. That is
Yeah.
that is a good bold prediction for us. Great
Yeah.
great one for us to finish there. Well,
Yep.
Jacob.
No pressure, Parker.
Yeah, no pressure, Parker. Jacob's already called it for you. We're gonna hold it. We're gonna hold you to it at this point. So hopefully you catch it. Hopefully catch it at the end of the video. You're getting called out right there. So Jacob, head coach of the Charlotte Charizards, I appreciate you sitting down doing this quick little interview that we can get posted here shortly on the YouTube channel and get everybody to kind of see what your thoughts were on season 11. And congratulations again on getting your first championship.
Thank you, and thank you for just having me here and doing this interview with me. Well, I say with me, doing the interview.
I can't take credit for the script. That actually came from the commissioner. So shouts out to Chris Moriarty Marks on that one for us. Head coach of Toronto.
All a team effort, baby.
So, absolutely, all a team effort. The only issue is if you do go back to back, you will have to interview yourself because past champion interviews the new champion, and I look forward to seeing you navigate that if you do repeat. So
okay, I'm gonna need to call Ali and see if I can borrow Greg. I think.
Okay, yeah, we'll get Greg in on this. So
okay, cool.
All
as
right,
long
Jacob.
as Greg's here, then we're great.
Yeah. All right. Well, Jacob, thank you again. Head coach, not the Toronto Trip Rumors, the Charlotte Charizards, with their first championship. We'll sign off on that with a crazy train wreck of an ending. But Parker, you've been put on notice, so look forward to seeing you win season 12. See y'all.
You got it, Parker. Woo!